Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. My name is Ellie and this is going to be my most anticipated new book release video for the summer. So in this video I'm going to be talking about some books that are coming out in the next few months that have caught my attention, that I'm excited by, that I think sound really good. I'm excited to go through them. I'm also just excited for the summer. It's nearly here and I'm so excited for the weather to improve, and it's my birthday in July as well, so that's always exciting, and I'm always on the hunt for books to add to my birthday wish list. So I thought it'd be fun to go through some of the books that are coming out over the next few months in case you're interested to see what's coming out, and if there's any that might pique your interest that you want to pre-order or just keep your eyes peeled for when they come into the stores. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight in with the first book on my list. So this first book, I'm not going to lie, initially drew me in with the cover because it's got a stunning and really striking cover, and that is My Darling Dreadful Thing, written by Joanna Van Veen. So I think this one sounds like it's going to be a really fun time. So the tagline on the back says, "In a world where the dead can wake and walk among us, what is truly real?" And in this story we follow a woman called Rose, or Roz, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her name, I'm going to go with Roz, and she can actually see spirits. She has this spirit companion that she is able to see, no one else can see it, and she ends up moving in with this widow called Agnes in this crumbling estate, and it says on the back, "The manor is unsettling, but the attraction between Roz and Agnes is palpable, so how does someone end up dead?" So there's obviously a bit of a mystery at the heart of this. It sounds like it's going to be sapphic. There maybe is a little bit of a romance in there as well. And just reading on a little bit further, it says, "Roz is caught red-handed, but she claims a spirit is the culprit. Dr. Montague, a psychologist tasked with finding out whether Roz can be considered mentally fit to stand trial, suspects she has created an elaborate fantasy world to protect her from what really happened. But Roz knows spirits are real. She's loved one of them. She'll have to prove her innocence and her sanity, or she'll lose everything." So there's lots of things about this story that stand out to me. I like the gothic feel. I love the fact that we have someone who can see spirits, but also it sounds like there's that little bit of a question, isn't there, about whether or not she can actually see these spirits, or perhaps she is mentally unwell. I love those kinds of stories where you're not quite sure what is real and what isn't. There's also a little bit of a mystery in there to keep you hooked, and I think it's just going to be a really creepy but also just really entertaining read, and I'm excited for it. Oh, also that one has actually already come out. It's the only one on this list that has actually already been published. I believe it was published back on the 14th of May. So if you want to get your hands on this one, I believe you can, which is very exciting. The next book on my list comes out on the 4th of June, and that is Service Model, written by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I think I might have mentioned this one in a previous video of like most anticipated books for the year, and so I'm very excited that we're nearly at the release date because I think this one sounds really fun. Adrian Tchaikovsky is an author that I do enjoy, so I know that I like their writing, and it just sounds like a really sort of humorous story. It's a tale of robotic murder, and it says, "To fix the world they must break it first." It says, "Humanity is a dying breed utterly reliant on artificial labour and service. When a domesticated robot gets a nasty little idea downloaded into their core programming, they murder their owner. The robot then discovers they can also do something else they never did before: run away. After fleeing the household, they enter a wider world they never knew existed, where the age-old hierarchy of humans at the top is disintegrating and a robot ecosystem devoted to human well-being is finding a new purpose." I don't know, I just think it sounds like it's going to be such a fun science fiction story. I love stories that involve sentient robots. It also sounds like it's going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a little bit humorous, and I think it's going to be a really fun time, so I'm very much looking forward to that one. Next on my list is actually a middle grade story, and I don't tend to read that much middle grade. I do occasionally enjoy a middle grade story. I do think they're quite a nice way to break up your reading if you want something just to lift you out of a reading slump, or if you just want something that's a little bit more fun, a little bit less serious, and a breath of fresh air. And I think this one sounds like it's going to be such a delight. This one is called The Girl Who Kept the Castle, and it's written by Ryan Goldrin, and I'm just going to read you the first little bit on the synopsis because I think that's all you need. So it says, Nevermore meets Howl's Moving Castle in this engaging fantasy, the first in a duology, perfect for fans of wizards, dragons, magical castles, spectacular spells, and a spunky cat who may not be what he seems. I mean, doesn't that just sound like it's going to be so much fun? I love both Nevermore and Howl's Moving Castle, so as soon as those two were mentioned, I was like, this sounds like it's going to be something I'll really enjoy. It sounds so whimsical, it sounds a little bit cheeky, a little bit silly with this like spunky cat, and the cover is so fun as well, and I just think this is going to be such a charming story, so I'm so excited for that one. Okay, so next up we've got a book that's coming out on the 25th of June, and this is Foul Days, written by Genevieve de Mova. So this one initially caught my attention because of the tagline, because it says The Witcher meets Naomi Novik in this fast-paced fantasy rooted in Slavic folklore. And if you know me at all, then you'll probably know that I really enjoy stories that are based on folklore or have some kind of folklore element to them, or anything that has like a fairy tale vibe. I just love all of those things, and especially Slavic folklore. I find it fascinating. I think it's really, really entertaining, but also has that kind of dark edge to it that I'm just really drawn to. So any book that mentions Slavic folklore in it, and I'm going to be drawn to that story. So that's what initially made me put it on this list. But I'm just going to read you a little bit from the actual synopsis to give you a bit more to go on. So in this story, we actually follow a witch who's had plenty of practice fighting beasts like kikimoras and rusalkas, but there's one monster that she can't defeat, her ex, who is known as the Tsar of Monsters, and she has defied him one too many times, and he is now hunting for her, and her only hope is to trade her shadow, which is the source of her powers, for illegal passage across the wall to this place called Belgrade. But as soon as she arrives at Belgrade, she develops this wasting sickness, and the only way she can find a cure is to reclaim her magic. So yeah, I feel like it sounds like it's going to be quite fun. It sounds like quite a light fantasy, I would say. I don't know, I feel like this might be one of those stories that's quite good if you're transitioning from young adult into adult, just because of some of the themes that are mentioned in here. But it also just sounds like it's going to be entertaining, it sounds like it's going to be fast paced, it sounds like it's going to be fun, and of course it's steeped in that Slavic folklore, which is something that I personally really enjoy. Okay, so on the 6th of July we've got This Great Hemisphere, written by Matteo Escaraport, coming out. And this one sounds like a lot of fun. It's a speculative sci-fi dystopian novel, and I don't know, I was just intrigued by some of the ideas and the things that were mentioned on the synopsis of this one. It sounds like it might be quite unique and quite an interesting setting. So this one is set in the far-flung future, and it's where Earth has actually been separated into hemispheric governments. And it focuses in on our main character, who's a woman called Sweetmint, and she is actually invisible. And she is on a mission to find her older brother, whom she presumed was dead, but who is now the primary suspect in a high-profile political murder. And it says on the back, This Great Hemisphere is a novel that brilliantly illustrates the degree to which reality can be shaped by non-truths and vicious manipulations, while shining a light on our ability to survive ourselves when we stop giving in to the narratives others have written for us. So I feel like this is gonna discuss some really interesting themes on the backdrop of it being a really interesting science fiction dystopian type setting. I don't know, I'm intrigued that our main character is an invisible, so she's literally see-through, and how that's going to work and how that is important within this world, because it seems like there are quite a few people in this world who are invisible, and I'm not quite sure what their role is, but I'm interested to find out. And yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting story, so I'm very much intrigued by that one. And then on the 16th of July we've got The Lost Story coming out. This is a book written by Meg Schaffer, and I immediately put this one on my TBR list because it's inspired by The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, and it's described as a fairy tale for adults, and that sounds like my cup of tea. I love fairy tales that have been adapted to an adult audience, especially if they have a little bit of a dark twist to them. And of course Narnia is such a classic, isn't it? It's a book that I read growing up, so I'm very familiar with the story story, and I'm just interested to see how this author has used that as their inspiration for this new story. So in this story we follow two male perspectives, Jeremy and Raph. And they actually both went missing when they were boys. They got lost in the forest and they disappeared for 6 months, and then they randomly reappeared and no one knows what happened to them. No one knows how they could have survived the last 6 months, and it's all a big mystery. And then this book takes place 15 years later, so the boys are now grown-ups, and Raph has no memory of what happened when they got lost in the forest, but Jeremy does know the truth. And Jeremy is now working as a missing persons investigator himself, and he is working on this case where he's trying to find out what happened to this young girl who has gone missing in the same forest that they went missing in 15 years prior, if that makes sense. So yeah, so he's investigating this new mystery, and of course he has all of this knowledge of what actually happened to him and his friend when they were boys. And through this investigation, the two men have to kind of confront their shared past, and they have to face hidden memories and, you know, things that were quite traumatic. And they also have to return to the enchanted place that they called home for 6 months. So this one sounds like it's going to be so whimsical, so fantastic. I'm really, really interested in this idea of this hidden world. It sounds like it may or may not be a portal fantasy, I'm not sure, but we also have that mystery element in there to keep the plot going forwards, to give us momentum and to keep us turning the pages. And we've of course got that backdrop of a really whimsical fantasy setting, so I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, and then on the 6th of August we have Lady Macbeth, written by Ava Reid. So I feel like this one has been doing the rounds a little bit on BookTube. I feel like I've seen quite a few booktubers excited for this book, myself included, and I think it's going to be a fun time, isn't it? I'm sure the title gives it away, but this is going to be a reimagining of Shakespeare's famous Macbeth, and it focuses in on the villainess, Lady Macbeth, and it gives her a voice. And it says on the back, "The lady knows the stories, how her eyes induce madness in men. The lady knows she will be wed to the Scottish brute who does not leave his warrior ways behind when he comes to the marriage bed. The lady knows his hostile, suspicious court will be a game of strategy requiring all of her wiles and hidden witchcraft to survive. But the lady does not know her husband has occult secrets of his own. She does not know that prophecy girds him like armour, and she does not know that her magic is greater and more dangerous, and that it will threaten the order of the world." Doesn't that sound fantastic? I love that it's got a witchy spin. I love that her husband also has a little dabbling with the occult, and it just sounds like it's going to be so intense, and I'm very, very excited. So yeah, I think that one sounds like a lot of fun. And then finally we have a book coming out on the 27th of August. This one is called The Crimson Crown, and it's written by Heather Walter. And this one is a queer, witchy reimagining of Snow White. So of course I had to put this on this list because I enjoy reimaginings. I enjoy things that are based on fairy tales, especially if they have a bit of a dark twist to them. My only reservation with this one is that it is a young adult book, and I feel like I have fallen out of love a little bit with YA books recently. I think I'm just not the target audience anymore, so I think I'll probably wait until some reviews come out for this one to decide whether or not I think it's going to be something that I personally will enjoy. But I like the premise, I like the idea that we've got a spin on this famous fairy tale, and that it's focusing in on the villain, and that it's queer, it has witchy elements. It says on the back that legends tell of a witch who became a queen, the heartless villain in the story of Snow White, but now the wicked queen is stepping out of Snow White's shadow to become the heroine of her own legend. I mean, it does sound fun, doesn't it? I'm not gonna lie, that does sound like a fun time. So we shall see. Anyway, those are all of the books that have caught my attention and that are coming out over the next few months. Let me know if you're also interested in any of these books, or if there are any other books that I haven't included on this list that are coming out soon that you think I would enjoy, because I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. Don't forget to like this video if you did like it, subscribe if you want to see some more from me, and I guess I'll see you next time with another video. Bye!